What's up, guys? This is Manoj Bhuptani. I welcome you all on behalf of the Edupedia world. It's been an exciting day outside, and I'm sure that you guys are again living your life to the fullest, like as usual. Perfect, guys. So, how have you living your life? Have you been testing so many things around? Have you been taking some of the actions that are exciting enough for you to charge you up, gear you up? Perfect. So guys, I'll mark the beginning of one of the most, I must say, the shortest kind of act that you'll be coming across during a final examination. So that's the Insurance Regulatory and Development Act. So it's all about the father of all the insurance business, the authority which is basically taking care of each and every kind of regulation that is made and provided for the insurance business companies in India. So, are you guys excited? Are you guys thinking whether what new are we going to learn in it? Perfect, guys. So with this hope, belief and motivation, let's charge you up and make you understand with so many topics relating to the Insurance Regulatory and Development Act 1999. But I'm sure that you guys are honoring your word, that is regular and recurring revisions. Don't forget that. That is something which is extremely important. Perfect, guys. With this, let's mark the beginning of this particular act with the first presentation. Fasten up your seatbelts. We're about to take off with the first topic, and that will be about none other than the definitions. And like any other act, the definition for IRDA will also be covered under section 2. So, the first definition is itself about the authority, that is IRDA. So, authority means the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority established under section 3 subsection 1 of the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority Act 1999. So, authority will simply be the meaning of IRDA, because IRDA has been named as the authority to take care of each and every kind of insurance business that is currently going on in our country. That is what authority means. By means, I simply means definitely means that's it and this is it. So nothing beyond that. So means is specifically talking about one authority, and that is IRDA. Now, coming to the second definition, that's about intermediary and insurance intermediary. So, an intermediary and an insurance intermediary includes, now, can you see guys, it's includes over here and not means. So guys, this definition is just not exhaustive. It can include some other things into itself as on. Okay, so it is just not exhaustive. Many other features and many other aspects can be covered into this definition as and when the same will be required. So, intermediary or insurance intermediary includes number 1, insurance brokers, number 2, reinsurance brokers, number 3, insurance consultants, number 4, surveyors, and loss assessors. So, who is an insurance broker? An insurance broker is a person who is basically providing or bringing some of the insurance business for the insurance based company, that is insurer. Okay, and in consideration of that, he or she is basically taking up the commission, the brokerage. Okay, that's their job. Okay, if I will talk about the reinsurance brokers, so reinsurance brokers are the persons who are bringing in the reinsurance business. Okay, you have provided the insurance to some client, okay, and now you again require some of your insurance on top of that. So again, there will be a third party who is going to reinsure you, so that if in case that guy is going to meet up the loss and you'll have to pay them, so now you can also hedge your position and take up the money from another insurance. So these brokers, reinsurance brokers, are going to bring in that reinsurance business to the company, and again in consideration of the same, they are going to take up the brokerage and commission. If I talk about insurance consultants, so insurance consultants are the persons who are basically promoting the insurance in our country, okay. The benefits of insurance, the kind of insurance, the companies which are promoting insurance, and they usually sell the insurance. The only difference between a broker and a consultant basically will be that a broker is a person who is directly involved himself or herself with the brokerage and commission. They sell off the insurance and they just, in consideration of the same, they take up their brokerage or commission. But in case of consultants, there might be a case wherein the consultant might be doing it merely on the basis of non-profit organization, wherein they don't charge any of the stuff relating to commission or brokerage, though they may charge. Having said that, doesn't mean that they can't charge, but consultants can be a person who willfully provide their services promoting insurance in the country. Whereas if I'll talk about the surveyors and loss assessors, they are the persons who take care once loss has happened. Okay, you take up a policy, and now after having taken up the policy, let's suppose fire insurance policy, fire broke out in your factory. Okay, now you'll call a person, okay, who is going to determine how much loss has taken place. Okay, and he's going to take up the survey. Okay, how much loss has been taken place and how much is required to be paid to you from the insurance company now. So who is that person? Those persons are the surveyors and loss assessors. They are the persons who basically check out and assess how much loss has happened and how it can be repaid by the insurance-based company. So intermediary and or insurance intermediary will include all those insurance broker, reinsurance brokers, insurance consultant, and as well as surveyor and loss assessors. I hope I've given you plenty of examples with relation to each and every person of them, so that you can get the best of the clarity in order to ensure that you do not hesitate while you write any of your examination in the paper. So you need to remember this, and these were the examples relating to the same. Now, moving on to the third definition, that is member. So member means a whole-time or a part-time member of the authority and includes the chairman. So member, basically if I am talking about member over here, so that's definitely on reference to IRDA. IRDA, that is authorities member. So member would be a whole-time or a part-time member of the authority, that is IRDA, and will also includes the chairman. It will also include the chairman of the authority. All these persons are the members of that authority. So members means basically means that's it and this is it. So a whole-time member, part-time member, and this will include a chairperson as well. I hope I have been clear with you guys with respect to each and every kind of definition that I made you understand, be it authority, be it intermediary or insurance intermediary or member. With this, can we proceed further? Perfect guys, I hope you guys got the complete understanding with respect to these three definitions. Now, let's move to the core part. Now, the main act part. We'll mark the beginning of that with the first topic, and that will be the establishment of authority. Okay, who is the person who is going to establish IRDA? This thing has been mentioned under section 3 of IRDA Act 1999. Are you guys all set? Perfect. Let's hear out. So the first of all thing is establishment by the central government. This thing has been provided under section 3 subsection 1. So who is going to establish the authority? That is IRDA. It is the central government who has got the power to establish the authority. So as BEREC says, with effect from such date as central government may by notification appoint there as shall be established for the purpose of this act an authority to be called as the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority. Okay, this thing has been mentioned under section 3 subsection 1. So all you need to remember is it is the central government who has got the power to establish the authority, that is IRDA. Now, what will be the characteristic of that authority? What will be the characteristics of IRDA? The same thing has been mentioned under section 3 subsection 2. So what is IRDA? The authority, that is IRDA, will be a body corporate. It shall be a body corporate which is having perpetual succession. By perpetual succession, I simply mean that the directors, the people overall will come and go, but this body corporate, that is IRDA, will go on forever. So they'll go for perpetuity. They will succeed for perpetuity. So a body corporate having perpetual succession and common seal. It will have its own identity. So it will have a common seal with the power to acquire, hold and dispose of any property, be it movable, be it immovable, and to contract and or be sued by the same name. So it has got the power in that case. So their characteristic, one, it's a body corporate. Second, it is having perpetual succession. That means directors and people around top management personnel may come and go, but the company goes on forever. So it will go on till infinity. So it's having a perpetual succession. Second, it will have a common seal. Common seal, by that means it will have its own signature, okay, with which it can have the power to acquire any property, they can hold any property, and they can dispose of any property, be it movable, be it immovable, okay, and it can enter into any kind of contract, okay, and apart from that, this authority can be sued or be sued in its said name, okay. Anybody can sue this authority, and authority can also sue any other person on the said name. So that is the characteristic of authority that has been mentioned under section 3 subsection 2. I am sure that you guys are clear with the kind of establishment of authority which is mentioned under section 3 with utmost clarity, be it establishment by CG or characteristic of authority. Can we proceed further? Give me a thumbs up. Perfect guys, let's move ahead. Now, what will be the composition of authority? We just had a discussion about how the authority is going to get established. Now, if I talk about what will be the composition, how many members will be there of this authority, how it's going to perform, this thing has been like mentioned under section 4. So, who all will form part of the composition of authority? Number 1, a chairperson. It's an absolute necessity to have a chairperson in any of the authority. Without chairperson, the authority cannot be managed at all. So, it is a requirement to have chairperson, number 1. And then at least at the most, like maximum 5 whole-time members. Okay, not more than 5 whole-time members. It has been mentioned that means maximum 5 whole-time members. You can have less, but you cannot increase the number of whole-time members. Okay, in a normal scenario. So 5 is the maximum. Not more than 4 part-time members. Okay, that means maximum 4 part-time members to be appointed by central government. These will be the persons who will form composition of the authority. A chairperson, maximum 5 whole-time members and maximum 4 part-time members. So at a time, the maximum number of people who can be authority of that will be 10 in any case. Okay. All these persons will be appointed by whom? Central government. Central government is going to appoint each one of them. And what kind of characteristic all these persons will be having? These persons will be amongst the person of ability, integrity and standing. These will be the persons who will be having a knowledge and experience in life insurance, general insurance, actuarial science, finance, economics, law, accountancy, administration or any other discipline which would, in the opinion of central government, be useful for the authority. Central government thinks, okay, apart from this list, there is another criteria that this person who is having this knowledge is still very much important for the authority. Kindly make him on board. Then he might get the privilege of getting on board with the composition of authority. Why? Because central government is having the opinion like this. So, chairperson, 5 full-time members, 4 part-time members to be appointed by central government from amongst the persons of ability, integrity, standing, who have the knowledge and experience of life insurance, general insurance, actuarial, finance, economics, law, accountancy, administration or any other discipline which would, in the opinion of central government, will be useful for the authority. This is about section 4 subsection 1. Are you guys clear with that? Perfect. Let's move towards the second part. That will be the requirement as to the specialized areas. This thing has been mentioned under section 4 subsection 2. So guys, it simply basically says that since we all know that we are appointing the chairperson or director over here with our primary concern that this person should have the knowledge of insurance. Okay. Why? Because we are appointing that person to work under IRDA. IRDA is again Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority. So they want this thing and this is their foremost requirement that at least the chairman or at least one whole-time member, they should ensure that he or she should be a person who is going to have the knowledge in life insurance, general insurance or actuarial science. I'm not talking about finance, I'm not talking about economics, I'm not talking about law. All these things will be like separated, okay. But as far as the appointment of chairperson and at least one full-time director is concerned, the authority shall ensure that one person is going to be a person who is having the knowledge and experience in life insurance, general insurance or actuarial science. Either of these 3, that's it. So that's a requirement of some specialized area. Central government shall, while appointing the chairperson and the whole-time directors, ensure that at least one person each is a person having knowledge or experience in life insurance, general insurance or actuarial science. That's it. So that is something which is exceptional kind of a requirement as to the appointment of chairman and one whole-time director is concerned. I hope you guys got the complete clarity with respect to this provision as well. So in this particular section, we did understood about the kind of composition of authority, be it chairperson, be it members, and what are their special requirements. I hope you guys are clear with each and every kind of stuff that I made you understand over here. Shall we proceed? Perfect. Let's move further with the next topic. And this will be about the term of office. What will be now, in the last slide, I did made you understand about the composition of authority. Now is the time for you to realize, okay, once the appointment of chairperson or whole-time director or be it part-time member is being done, how much time, okay, what will be the term of their office as a chairperson and members of the authority? Till how much time can they remain to be in that particular office that has been like provided to them? What will be the term of that? So the term of office for chairman, chairperson and whole-time member is a bit different, okay. The same thing has been like covered under section 5 subsection 1. So the term for a chairperson and every WTM, that is whole-time member, that will be 5 years, okay, and they shall be eligible for reappointment. That means that the maximum they can serve a term will be of 5 years. Having said that, again they are eligible for reappointment and they can again fight for contest of another reappointment if in case they wish to. However, there is a catch over here, and that is the maximum age of chairperson can be 65 years, whereas the maximum age of full-time members can be 62 years. One is having 65 years, another one is having 62 years. So that's the catch between the two. Both of the person, be it full-time member or be it chairperson, both of them will get elected for a term of 5 years. Okay. And both of them shall be eligible for reappointment. The only thing will matter to them with respect to their maximum age. Maximum age of being a chairperson is 65 years and maximum age of being a whole-time member is 62 years. I hope you guys are pretty much clear with each and every thing which I told you of. Now, the next thing which comes into the picture is the time. What will be the time of office of part-time members now? So, if I talk about the part-time members, again, the term period for them will remain 5 years, like any of the chairperson or whole-time member. But the only thing is, in case of part-time member, they cannot be eligible for reappointment. Okay, since BEAR Act says that a part-time member shall hold office for a term not exceeding 5 years from the date on which he enters upon his office. But nowhere in the BEAR Act it has been mentioned that he shall be or she shall be like eligible for reappointment. The same thing hasn't been mentioned over there. And since the literal meaning says in that way, so they cannot be reappointed in that case. That's the sole difference between the term of chairperson, full-time member and part-time member. I hope you guys are having a clear, at most complete idea about this particular segment, about the difference in the term of office with respect to chairperson, full-time member and part-time member. Let's move towards the third thing, and that will be about the removal and resignation. This thing will be covered under section 5 subsection 3. So if in case I'll talk about now the removal and resignation as per section 5 subsection 3. What it says is you, let's suppose you are a member, okay. So you can and you may relinquish your office, okay, by giving a notice in writing to central government of not less than 3 months, number one. Or you can be removed from your office in accordance with the provisions of section 6. That is something which has been like expressly provided in the act itself. So if you are a member, you want to like leave your office, you need to like resign from your office, you can do so. Only after you give a particular notice in writing to the central government, and which shouldn't be less than 3 months. You need to give your notice of at least 3 months, so that by then another personnel who is having that equal capability or ability, or maybe like beyond or below you about any of that simple stuff, so at par ability, can be replaced. Okay, so that needs to be in short. So you need to give at least 3 months notice to the central government in writing that you want to relinquish your office. Or if in case something happens wherein situations comes up, or that you get insolvent or mentally incapable or something other sort of these things happen, then in that case IRDA has got the like authority, okay, and even on the approval of central government, they may like remove you from your office if in case that's extremely required as per the provisions of section 6. So that is all about removal and resignation. You as a member may relinquish your office by giving a notice in writing to central government of not less than 3 months, or you can be removed from your office if in case in accordance with the provisions of section 6. So this is something which you will be able to understand in just the next slide. So this was all about the term of office of a chairperson and members of the authority. This has been explained under section 5. Member, chairperson and whole-time member, both of them are having an equal term, that is 5 years, and shall be eligible for reappointment. Maximum age of chairperson 65 years, maximum age of full-time members 62 years, time and office of part-time member maximum 5 years, and they shall not be eligible for reappointment. And as far as the removal and resignation is concerned, a member may relinquish his office by giving a notice in writing to central government of not less than 3 months or be removed from his office if in case CG and IRDA think fit so. Are we guys clear with that? Perfect. Let's proceed towards the last topic of this presentation, and that will be removal. So removal from the office of chairperson and other members. This has been explained under section 6. So this is something which I was telling you up in my last slide. So this is exactly the instances wherein you can be removed from the post of your member. Okay. So what all are those situations in which a member may be removed? This thing has been explained under section 6 subsection 1. So central government may remove from office any member who is at any point of time has been adjudged as an insolvent or has become physically or mentally incapable or of acting as a member, okay, has convicted as an offense which involves moral turpitude. By moral turpitude, I simply mean that he is actually gone for an option of formal wickedness, okay, so which is absolutely not acceptable, and or has acquired such kind of financial interest or other interest which is likely to affect prejudicially his functions as a member. He'll get disturbed by that fact because he has just got a financial interest or other interest in the authority or maybe some other aspect, or has abused his position so as to render his continuation in office that is detrimental to the interest of public. So what all can be the situations? Either that member became insolvent or physically or mentally incapable, or has been convicted of an offense involving moral turpitude, or has acquired some financial or other interest which is going to likely affect prejudicially his functions as a member, or has abused his position so as to render his continuation in office which is detrimental to the public interest. All these will be the situations wherein a member may be removed. This has been explained under section 6 subsection 1. I hope you guys are absolutely clear with these instances. Now, but it's a human ground, okay, before removing any of your officers or any of your members, there has to be an opportunity which should be given to them. So you need to provide them the show cause notice to tell as to why he or she shouldn't be removed from the place of a chairperson or member. So opportunity of being heard should always be given to them. So no such member shall be removed unless he or she has been given a reasonable opportunity of being heard in that matter. This thing has been mentioned under section 6 subsection 2. I hope you guys are clear, absolutely clear with this aspect as well. So we did discuss about a lot many topics with relation to IRDA Act 1999 in this particular presentation. In my forthcoming presentation, I'll going to cover the remaining topics of this particular act. But before going, just ensure that you need to revise your topics time and again, because that is something extremely crucial. Whatever thing that I'm making you understand, that will remain futile, okay, that will go, each and every effort of mine will go in vain if in case you don't revise your topic. That is why I recommend you always and always to revise that. Perfect guys, with this I'll conclude my video with a dose of motivation, and that will be absolutely determined to enjoy what you do. Gary Sikorsky was the person who mentioned this quote. So you need to enjoy what you do, okay, and you need to be absolutely determined for that, okay. Do all those stuff which you love to do, okay, or either love what you do. So it could be either way, but you need to ensure that it's always better that you whatever thing you enjoy in your life, that you need to do that. So that will come out of its own. You don't have to push yourself for that, okay. Or if in case you are not that privileged enough, so do need to take up any of the stuff, but start loving it, okay. Because if you are providing your half of your life, okay, to your work, we as chartered accountants work like almost 8 to 12 or 14 hours maybe a day. So we are almost spending half of our life in working, okay. So we need to be ensured about this thing, that since we are almost spending half of our life for our work, we need to ensure that we need to have that kind of determination, that enthusiasm, that excitement all the way to enjoy what we do. That is the success. That is the step to success. So be absolutely determined to enjoy what you do, and you'll do wonders. I'm sure you'll do. Perfect guys. With this, I'll say thank you on behalf of the ADpedia. While keep interacting via questions, queries in YouTube comment boxes. I will love to answer each one of your queries. Stay connected. That will help us in understanding your needs way better. If in case you liked our video, do give us a thumbs up. We'll stay motivated to help you out with that case. See you in the next presentation. Till then, take care. Sayonara. Good luck. Goodbye. Love you all. God bless. Bye.